Men believe their virtues will protect them, but tell me, what use is kindness in the jaws of wolves? What value has honesty in a world that rewards deception? Or mercy in the hands of those who mistake it for weakness? You cling to ideals as if they were armor, yet they are nothing but paper against the steel of ambition. The truth is colder, sharper, and far more merciless than you dare admit. And if you wish to endure, you must be willing to see what others cannot bear to face. Shall I show you? There is no greater weakness in a man than the habit of trusting too easily. The one who opens his heart and believes every word spoken to him has already surrendered the keys to his own downfall. Trust, when given without measure, is not a bond but a chain placed willingly around the neck, and there will always be those eager to pull it tight. Men are not as honest as they wish to appear. Behind the face of friendship often lies ambition, and beneath the language of loyalty often breathes treachery. To believe otherwise is to be blind in a room filled with daggers. The trusting soul imagines the world is as pure as his own intentions, but the world is ruled by appetites, envy, and fear. The man who believes too much in the honesty of others walks through life unarmed, waiting for the moment when his illusions are shattered by betrayal. He does not see the danger in the smile of an ally, nor hear the threat hidden in the flattery of an enemy. He places faith where caution should stand, and thus builds his ruin with his own hands. It is said that to trust is noble, and indeed it makes life appear gentler. But nobility in excess becomes a vice when set against the harshness of survival. The trusting man does not live in reality. He lives in a dream, a world where promises are kept and loyalty is eternal. Yet the truth of power is far darker. Promises are broken the moment they cease to serve advantage, and loyalty endures only as long as it is profitable. To forget this truth is to place yourself at the mercy of wolves, believing them to be sheep. This does not mean you must live in suspicion of all men, for no ruler can stand alone. But trust must be weighed like gold, measured carefully, and never spent freely. It must be granted not on words, but on actions, not on appearances, but on necessity. To trust blindly is weakness, to trust conditionally is strength. Keep men close to you, but keep their motives closer in your mind. For the moment you forget that all men are capable of deceit, is the moment you become their victim. The hidden danger of the too trusting soul is that he makes betrayal not only possible, but easy. He tempts the dishonest man by showing that dishonesty will go unnoticed, and he invites the ambitious man by proving that ambition will not be checked. His openness becomes the weapon used against him. His faith becomes the path to his undoing. And when the blow finally falls, it does not come from the enemy he feared, but from the friend he trusted. He who trusts too easily is already conquered. The man who surrenders himself to emotion is no master of his fate. Anger, pity, love, or despair, each one becomes a leash around his neck, tugged by whoever knows how to pull at it. He believes himself free because he follows his heart, but in truth he is bound tighter than the slave in chains. A man ruled by passion cannot see clearly. His vision is clouded, his judgment warped, and in moments when reason is needed most, he becomes a captive to his own impulses. Consider anger. It burns hot, but it blinds. The ruler who strikes in rage reveals his weakness, for he shows that others can provoke him into action. Enemies will exploit this, luring him into traps with insults, forcing his hand before he is ready. Anger convinces him he acts with strength, yet it is the enemy who guides his sword. What he calls power is nothing more than manipulation, with himself as the puppet. Now consider pity. At times it is useful to appear merciful, but the man who cannot restrain his compassion becomes vulnerable to the cunning. His heart is softened by displays of suffering, whether real or staged, and in seeking to spare others, he exposes himself to ruin. Those who know his nature will weep false tears, grovel with feigned humility, and twist his mercy into their advantage. He believes he acts with humanity, but he is being devoured by wolves in the clothing of lambs. Love, too, is dangerous when it rules unchecked. To love deeply is to give another the power to wound you. The man who places love above reason becomes predictable, for he will sacrifice judgment, duty, and sometimes even survival to protect the object of his affection. Enemies know this and strike where the heart is softest. His devotion, though noble, becomes a weakness sharper than any blade. All emotions, if left ungoverned, enslave the one who carries them. They turn him into a creature pulled in every direction, never standing firm, never truly commanding himself. A man who cannot command himself cannot command others. He becomes a subject to the schemes of those colder, sharper, and more disciplined, who provoke his passions deliberately and guide his downfall without lifting a weapon. The truth is this: emotion is not to be eliminated but mastered. It may serve as a mask, a tool, even a weapon, but only when used by choice, not by compulsion. To feel is human, to control those feelings is power. The hidden danger of the man ruled by emotion is not only that he will fail, but that others will succeed through him. One who is ruled by emotion is no ruler of himself. The man who cannot live without boasting of his strength is already betraying his weakness. He believes that by shouting of his power, by displaying it at every turn, he will inspire fear and respect. Yet, in truth, he exposes himself as insecure, for true strength does not need constant proclamation. The sharpest dagger is the one unseen until it strikes. The ruler who parades his might too loudly invites suspicion, breeds envy, and gives his enemies time to prepare against him. A wolf that howls too often warns the flock before it moves. The boastful mask is a dangerous one, for it convinces the man wearing it that appearances alone can secure his throne. He spends his energy feeding the illusion of power, grand declarations, hollow threats, constant demonstrations, while neglecting the quiet labor of securing real control. His enemies, watching closely, soon learn the measure of his act and discover where the mask ends and the weakness begins. Once they know this boundary, they will press against it until it cracks. Power is best revealed in moments of necessity, not in constant display. A ruler who rarely shows his hand, who conceals his capacity until it is needed, strikes with far greater terror than one who brandishes his strength daily. For men fear the unknown more than the known. They tremble at the shadow, whose depth they cannot judge. The boastful man removes this mystery, and in doing so he diminishes himself. Moreover, a ruler who cannot restrain his boasting alienates those around him. His allies grow weary of his arrogance, his subjects see him as vain, and his enemies are emboldened by the thought that his pride exceeds his substance. Nothing stirs rebellion faster than the scent of overconfidence, for men delight in humbling the one who exalts himself too high. Thus, the mask of strength becomes the very cause of downfall. This is not to say that appearances hold no value. On the contrary, perception is the armor of power, but it must be cultivated with subtlety, not excess. To appear confident is necessary. To drown the world in declarations of strength is folly. Let your enemies doubt your capacity. Let them question the depths of your resolve, until the moment you choose to reveal it. Then strike with such force that none ever forget what you withheld. The hidden danger of the boastful man is that he exhausts his power in appearance and leaves nothing for reality. He forgets that fear and respect are born not from endless display, but from decisive action when the time demands it. A lion that roars without striking is soon mocked by the herd. the one that waits in silence and then pounces commands all forever. The man who must constantly display his strength reveals his weakness. The dreamer lives not in the world as it is, but in the world as he wishes it to be. He clings to visions of justice, of harmony, of perfection, and he convinces himself that if he believes hard enough, reality will bend to his ideals. Yet power is never built upon dreams. It is forged from necessity, sharpened by struggle, and preserved through ruthless calculation. The man who drifts too far into visions of what should be blinds himself to what is, and in that blindness he becomes prey to the realist who accepts the world's cruelty without flinching. The danger in such a soul is not always obvious. His words often sound noble, his intentions seem pure, and many are seduced by the warmth of his promises. People flock to him, believing that he can deliver them to a brighter future, for men would rather be deceived by hope than confronted by truth. Yet when storms come and harsh choices must be made, the dreamer falters. He hesitates where decisiveness is demanded. He clings to fantasies where action is required. And in his hesitation, he endangers not only himself, but all who followed him. Power does not reward purity of vision. The field is not won by the man who imagines victory, but by the one who seizes it through cunning and strength. Dreams have no armies, no strategies, no blades. They cannot shield you from betrayal or famine or revolt. The realist, who acts as the world truly is, will strip the dreamer of his illusions, turn his followers against him, and leave him broken among the ruins of promises he could not keep. Worse still, the dreamer becomes a tool for others. His ideals make him predictable, his hope makes him blind, and the ruthless know how to guide him like a puppet. They whisper the words he longs to hear, flatter his visions, and in his pursuit of perfection, he serves their schemes without realizing it. By the time he awakens to their manipulation, it is too late. His power has already been consumed by those willing to do what he could not. Understand this: ideals may inspire, but they cannot govern. A ruler may wear the language of vision as a cloak, but beneath it he must be hard, pragmatic, and unyielding. To survive, he must see the world not as he wishes, but as it truly is: flawed, dangerous, and merciless. To forget this truth is to drift into weakness, for there is nothing more fragile than a man who believes in perfection. The eternal dreamer becomes prey to the ruthless realist. Hesitation is a silent assassin. It does not strike with steel, but with delay, stealing away opportunities until nothing remains but regret. The man who cannot decide in time, who weighs and reweighs every possibility, imagines he acts with wisdom, but in truth he offers his enemies the greatest gift of all, time. And time is the soil in which plots grow. Alliances shift and power slips quietly into other hands. Better to make a flawed decision swiftly than to make no decision at all. For hesitation leaves a man defenseless against those who act without pause. The danger of the indecisive hand is that it paralyzes not only the ruler but all who depend on him. His soldiers hesitate because he hesitates. His ministers waver because he wavers. In moments of crisis, where clarity and resolve are most needed, uncertainty spreads like a plague. The indecisive ruler thinks he avoids risk, but in truth he multiplies it, for while he stalls, the bold strike, and by striking they dictate the outcome before he has chosen his path. Enemies learn quickly how to exploit such weakness. They provoke him with challenges, knowing he will delay. They maneuver freely, certain he will not respond until it is too late. They whisper in his ear, pulling him first one way, then another, until he is ensnared in their schemes. Indecision does not protect him from error. It merely ensures that the error belongs to someone else's design, not his own. Even allies begin to despise the hesitant hand. They cannot trust a leader who falters when choices must be made. They drift toward others who act with confidence, for men would rather follow a bold fool than a timid sage. Nothing corrodes authority faster than the scent of uncertainty, and once a ruler is seen as weak, his subjects will cease to fear him, his allies will cease to rely on him, and his enemies will cease to respect him. This is not to say that caution has no value. Reflection, calculation, and foresight are vital to power. But there is a line where caution becomes paralysis, and beyond that line lies ruin. A ruler must learn to recognize the moment when further delay ceases to sharpen his judgment and begins to dull his strength. At that moment he must act not perfectly, but decisively, for even a flawed stroke may yet carve a path to survival, while hesitation carves only the coffin. Hesitation is more dangerous than error. Kindness is a pleasing quality, but when it is given without limit, it transforms from virtue into weakness. The man who cannot bring himself to punish, who believes mercy alone will bind others to him, has already placed the knife in his enemy's hand. Excessive mercy teaches men not gratitude but contempt, for they soon learn that there is no consequence to their defiance. What begins as forgiveness becomes permission, and what begins as kindness ends in rebellion. A ruler who refuses to be feared cannot hope to be obeyed. The danger lies in believing that men will repay generosity with loyalty. They will take the gift, yes, but once it no longer serves their interest, they will discard their benefactor without hesitation. Gratitude fades faster than memory, and no amount of kindness will keep ambition in check. He who spares when he should strike only postpones his own downfall. Mercy in excess is not protection. It is an invitation for betrayal. Enemies in particular must never be treated too gently. To leave them wounded but alive, humiliated but free, is to nurture the very threat that will rise again stronger tomorrow. In sparing them, you grant them time to gather allies, to plot revenge, to sharpen their weapons in the dark. The harsh truth is this: it is often safer to destroy than to forgive, for the dead cannot conspire, but the spared enemy never forgets the hand that humbled him. Even within one's own circle, unchecked kindness breeds rot. Subordinates who are never punished grow careless. Allies who are never tested grow disloyal. Subjects who are always indulged grow insolent. Men respect the hand that rewards, but they obey the hand that can also punish. Without discipline, there is no order. Without the shadow of fear, there is no loyalty worth trusting. This does not mean cruelty should reign unchecked. To rule by terror alone invites hatred, and hatred is the seed of rebellion. But mercy must be balanced with severity. Punishments, when dealt, should be swift and decisive, striking terror not through excess, but through certainty. Let men know that kindness is possible, but let them fear that punishment is inevitable if they overstep. Only then will your mercy carry weight, for only then will it be respected. The hidden danger of unlimited mercy is that it strips power of its teeth. A ruler who cannot punish is no ruler at all. He is a servant to the whims of those he governs. True strength is not found in constant forgiveness, but in knowing when to forgive and when to make an example. The man who spares always spares nothing, not even himself. He who cannot punish cannot rule.